Did you know that your Google Tag Manager configuration could be cannibalizing your Google search engine rankings? How ironic would that be if that was actually true, right? We have a Google Tag Manager product and a Google search engine rankings product, and they're actually kind of hurting each other. Well, in this case, it's not actually Google's fault. But in this episode of the eCom Buzz, we're going to talk about what does this look like and potentially what is actually happening here. But first, we're going to break this up into two segments here today. A new segment, ironically called News, and then we're going to look at this all-important subject of your Google Tag Manager potentially destroying your search engine rankings, at least to a level here. My name is Joseph here at SwiftOtter. I am excited to be able to bring this information to you, and I hope you find it helpful and relevant. Let's start out by talking about news. There are three pieces of news briefly that I think you will find interesting and helpful here. So the first one is this conversation about the Forrester Wave report. Now, Forrester comes out with two reports on an annual basis, the B2B report and the B2C report, specifically talking about B2B and B2C e-commerce platforms, business to business, business to consumer, respectively. This year, no different. They came out with both of their reports as far as what is a better platform for you to utilize. Buyers obviously could read this and say, okay, well, I was already planning with going Shopify. That means Shopify is a good answer, whatever. It can be helpful in the decision-making process. Now, the B2C report this year was just kind of flew under the radar. It was fine. The B2B report, though, was a little bit different. There was a lot of very colorful opinions about this. And the reason that this is important is, again, if you're using this in your buying decision as far as a potential replatform project, is these platforms the right selection? So what Forrester did was they recommended utilizing, well, they put these as their best choice picks, like who would not want to be in the stronger current offering as a leader. They've made their selections here, and we can also see stronger strategies, stronger current offering. These would be in like that best bubble to select from. Now, Salesforce was the best one that they put in this market. Ironically, Salesforce literally does not power B2B e-commerce. Their place is B2C e-commerce. So how they got selected here is a bit surprising. Now, on the other hand, Shopify, as far as a stronger current offering, was actually selected as a stronger current offering than BigCommerce. Now, I'm not here to put down Shopify or anything like that. We're a Shopify partner as well, so we like Shopify. But we have done extensive research, and I'm going to show you that in here in a second. Shopify's B2B features are not as good as BigCommerce at this point. Could that change in a couple of years? For sure. Likely will change. But right now, it's not. And so there's a lot of questions about this. Jason Greenwald, we're going to have a link in the description below, has a very colorful, again, opinion about this. And the comments are even more colorful. It's worth a read through here just to get the full perspective. But what I was going to say is, instead of that, we have put together a report here recently about comparing 65 critical features of Adobe Commerce, Shopify, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce, the four most well-used e-commerce platforms on the market, where we go through a star-style ranking system that will help you understand what platform is best for you right now, what's going to have the least implementation cost, and which one is going to be best suited for you long-term. You can make that decision for yourself. You don't have to rely on Forrester's research, whatever happened with that. Maybe it's accurate. I don't know. I'm not here to judge on that, but consider this as your opportunity to get in the weeds and understand exactly what's going on, as well as our opinion on each one of these here at the bottom. So I hope you find that helpful. Second, if you are like me, and this is not a sponsored listing here, but you use Canva. In fact, the presentation you are looking at right here on this screen is made by Canva. We use it all the time here. And if you don't, it basically is the democratization of Photoshop into anybody's hands. Like it makes it super easy. I've been impressed with how regularly they have been building out new features. So if you're not using it today, it's a tool I think that will help your marketing process become simpler, more straightforward. Is it as powerful as Photoshop? 100? No, it's not at all. But it does some pretty cool things, and you'll find that there's a lot of things you just don't really need anymore. So I'm pretty excited about that. The third one here is a bit more futuristic. Walmart has put out a bit of a weird e-commerce experience, and I put this out there just to tickle your futuristic funny bone. It's going to be a while before we see anything like this out in actually coming to reality, but we can kind of see the wheels turning as far as more innovative buying experiences. And we can check this out right here. We have it's walmartrealm.com, like the realm of Walmart. But we can literally click through this. It's kind of like Google Street View, but in the form of this interesting underground experience. So it looks like some of these are sold out, but some of them are not. So we can purchase these for $12 here from Walmart in this unique buying experience. So it's kind of influencer-esque, interesting type of environment, but I find it fascinating, and it's worth keeping an eye on. So with that, closing up the news section, let's talk about Google Tag Manager and your search engine rankings. Now, it's a bit of an odd comment there because we have two Google products. How could they be hurting each other? So Google Tag Manager, what is it first? Tag Manager is this tool that allows you to include pieces of JavaScript or tags onto your website. So for example, we have want to implement Google Analytics. We want to bring in Google AdWords conversion tracking. We want to bring in HubSpot integration, MailChimp tracking, Facebook Pixel, you name it. Those little pieces of JavaScript widgets are then dropped on our website. Here's the problem, though, is marketing, there's always these cool widgets that are floating out there in the ether, and good salespeople and marketing signs a deal one year, and then next year they sign another deal, and then sales has this deal, and then another deal that they're signing as far as tools to augment their process. Well, and before we know it, it looks like my junk drawer, which when I moved into this house several years ago, it was clean as a whistle. I had literally had my wallet and my keys in there. Good grief. Like now, I literally was opening my junk drawer yesterday there in the kitchen, and I opened it up, and a couple things fell right there on the ground. I was like, okay, why? Bend over, pick them up. 35 years old, it's not a big deal to pick things up, but it's annoying. And that junk drawer is full to the maximum. I literally need to go through and clean it out. And that's the same thing that needs to happen here with your Google Tag Manager. What happens? Well, all these tags are loaded. Whether or not they're used or not anymore is irrelevant. They're loaded, and every one of them is going to slow down the performance of your website just a little bit. Some, unfortunately, a lot. And you'd be surprised as far as how some of those tags from well-known, reputable companies are actually terribly built and actually really hurt the performance of your website. And so what it ends up being is your website can actually slow down. Now, it's not going to be on day one, but over the course of several years of using this, it's going to get bad. So Google Tag Manager, using that does not mean you automatically have good search engine rankings. Those do not work together. So a couple of questions that are critical to think through here. Number one, how many tags are you currently loading in Google Tag Manager? We had this conversation, which sparked my interest in this, and we've definitely seen this, but in some other instances as well. But the one that sticks out in my memory as the biggest example is talking to a client that had literally, I think it was over 350, maybe 400 tags in Google Tag Manager. That has an impact. Now, again, working with marketing and sales and what's going on there, maybe we can pare that back. We should be able to pare it back a lot. So how many tags in Google Tag Manager? Let's get that to an absolute minimum. Be dogged about getting that to as few as possible. Now, the other question is, though, there's going to be a good number that don't need to load on every page. The easiest is to set it up so that it does load on every page, just creating the tag and putting that information in there. But you can configure it so that it does not fire on all pages, that there are only certain pages that it does trigger on. which is going to reduce the number of times that page that is loaded. And so those pages that this tag is not loaded on will have better performance. Again, on a tag by tag basis, you'll probably have a minuscule, non-noticeable amount of performance impact. But by the time you start adding all these things up, just like this junk drawer and one receipt's not going to hurt anything, but by the time you get 5 receipts in there and over the course of a couple months and a CD-ROM from some imaging and just all this junk in there, eventually it's going to really start crudding up the system. So here's what my recommendation is. Do a systematic review of your Google Tag Manager account. Be aggressive as far as deleting unnecessary tags. Get rid of as many as possible, and then reduce the page scope for as many as possible. So if there is ones that just execute on the checkout success page, limit it just to the success page of the checkout. If it's just category products or specific landing pages, you can probably filter it down based off of the URL to just those specific pages. Will it represent more work in the long run? Yes, but at the end of the day, by having this type of measure or focus on your work there, it will improve the performance of your website. So I hope you found this helpful. Using Google Tag Manager does not mean you're going to have good Google search engine rankings. It's up to you to be aggressive and to ensure that your website is performing exactly as you want it to be, which means the best performance possible. See you in a couple weeks.